Hello friends. Today we are going to talk about router. What is a router? What is the use of router? Limitations of router? Smart use of router, right? So let's get started. So what is a router? The router is a device which connects two different networks together. It's a simple definition of router, right? So you can see the symbols, right? So how actually router look like. So there are various types of routers. There are so many vendors who provide the routers, including HP, Cisco, Juniper. Like you are using a Wi-Fi router as well, right? So there are numbers of vendors who provide a router, and it look like a router. It's already shown the picture, right? The last one is a symbol. Basically, if you are a network engineer, so in the books and in the syllabus, everywhere you will look like this symbol, and this symbol is a mark as a as a router. So how exactly we are use this router? What does mean that two different networks? So you can see there are two different networks right here as an example. You can see the host A having the 192.168.0.100/24. So this is a one network, and host B which is sits in a different network, right? 10.1.0.100. So that's IP of the machine, and it's a totally two different networks. Now if these two different networks wants to communicate with each other, we require a router. So router is a must. So this is what the definition says. Two different networks, okay, wants to wants to communicate, we require a router. So here is the router where we have configured the gateway IP address on the router. For host A, the gateway is 192.168.0.1, and for host B, the gateway is 10.1.0.1. So if host A wants to communicate with host B, it should connect to its gateway first, which is a router, and the router will forward the traffic back to host B. This is vice versa communication will happen. And to make this communication between these two different networks, router is essential one. Okay, so this is how router works. Now let's see a second example. Here everyone using the router for Wi-Fi router, or there are numbers of routers which is not. Now here we can see our host is sits into a network 192.168.0.0/24 network. The IP is 100 for this machine. Now the user connects to the Wi-Fi router, right? And it's connected to the internet, and it accessing something, it's a Google DNS server 8.8.8.8. Now this is a different network 8.8.8, and our network is a different, right? It's a host network. So now again, to connect two different networks, we require a router. So the router is a must. So here how the internet we are accessing, we require a router. That's a must. Now you can just check the trace route as well, right? In a tracer you can see uh, this is a trace route from this host machine, where you can see the first hop is a 192.168.0.1, right? That's a gateway that is on the router, right? And this is how it is moving through the internet cloud, and it's reaching to the server. You can see before reaching to the server there is a firewall in between, right? It is also showing the firewall IP as well. That can be a firewall, that can be a router, right? The firewall also act as a router, because on the firewall itself there is a router, right? So firewall having some additional features as well, but it also act as a router. Okay, so this is how we can use the router. Okay, let's see the limitations of router. So the router's main purpose is routing only. Okay, there is no any other reason for which we going to install, or we are going to add a router in our network. So if you want to connect to different networks, or there are numbers of multiple of networks, you want to connect to each other, and in that case only we require a router. Otherwise there's no require for a router. Okay, but mainly if you're a network, and you want to communicate, right? So we'll require a router. But again, the router does not have any additional functionality, right? firewall or Wi-Fi router. It provides some additional features as well. But in a plain router, it has only the routing functionality only. Okay. Now it comes with the limited ports if you have a router. So there are various products, various vendors who provides the routers, but it comes with the limited ports. If you look at the Wi-Fi port, you're having some one WAN port and one LAN port. Only these two ports are using as a router. Other ports are that's L2 ports, right? Like a Cisco, HP, Juniper, there are numbers of uh, vendors who provides a router, but there are some limited ports they are provided because we require these number of ports only, right? We don't require actually numbers of ports because it depends upon your requirement and how many networks you are going to connect directly on the router. But again, these are limitations. There are limited ports. Okay, in a switch we are getting 24 ports, right? 48 ports, but this is not same in the case of router. Okay, that we need to understand. Now, adding a router in a network, it adds more hop and a latency. So whenever you are adding a router in your network, you need to understand you are adding a more hop, right? Because every L3 device is a part of your hop, right? So if you are adding more and more routers in your network, okay, and these routers comes into the traffic path, you are adding more and more hop. So every router will take time to route that traffic, right? It need to check that routing. And so there are some other factors. Okay, so it adds a latency, okay, in your whole traffic path. So if you are adding a router, make sure that is definitely required and you are adding appropriate device between the path. Okay, again, there is a smart usage of the router as well. Okay, so first, if you want to add a router, just identify your requirements and which one is the best suitable router. You need to decide, and same router you need to add. Okay, again, make sure required features are available in it. So if you want to use a Wi-Fi, right, in the same router, like in a home we are using a Wi-Fi router, right? If you want to use a wireless devices and you are adding a router which is not support the Wi-Fi, then it is useless. You need to add one more Wi-Fi router. Okay, so make sure uh, requirements. Okay, what the features you are looking for. Like if you are looking for a router, okay, who needs to support a netting plus zone based firewalls in it, or uh, you know routing, all the routing features needs to support. Okay, or there are some vendors like Cisco and Juniper, and every vendor has some unique features, right? And that features, if as per your environment, and if you are looking for that which will fulfill your requirement, so make sure you are looking for that particular router. Or there are so many factors like how many bandwidth you are looking for. Uh, so on that basis, what is the outward, what is the capacity of that router. Okay, the throughput, you need to consider how many ports are available in that router and how many ports you are looking for, right? What type of ports it comes with, like it comes with the SFP, it comes with the Ethernet, Giga Ethernet, how many ports are in it. Okay, so that everything you need to take care of it, right? So also define the best place to add a router in your network. If you are adding a router, you need to decide whether you need to put in a front of the WAN link or front of a user. Okay, where you are going to place it. Suppose if you have a firewall and also you are having a router, where you want to put it. Okay, you need to put a gateway on your router, or you need to put a gateway on the firewall, or you want to terminate your ISP on that router. Okay, not on the firewall. So it is depends upon your requirements. It is not a straightforward answer. It's depend on the requirement, how you are going to design your network. On that basis, you need to define what is the best suitable place to add a router in your network. Okay, Again, make sure your router is secure after configuration. So uh, it's meaning that if, whenever you are adding a router, so there are number of vendors out there who comes with the default settings. Okay, some router that telnet is open, some routers that snmp version 1 by default, credentials, so many things which comes with the default, default credentials. There's admin, right? So many things are there default which is vulnerable. Okay, if you are directly connecting to internet and everything the same, then your router maybe someone can hack it. So make sure if you are configuring that router, make sure you are configuring a proper credentials. Okay, so no one can hack it. Okay, make sure you are the ports which are not useful, you are shut down it. Okay, so no one can just directly plug and play it. Okay, so just avoid that. Okay, so this is the thing which you need to take care of it. Okay, to make sure your router is secure. Okay, so we already checked, right? So router is a very useful device in our network. If we having a multiple networks and you want to communicate with each other, router is a very useful device, right? But make sure you are installing at the right place, right? Understand its limitations, right? So you need to understand that what is the default settings, how many ports you are going to configure, how many ports you are looking for. Okay, understand the features you are getting with it, understand the security features it comes with, right? So there are in some devices there are limited features, like some devices support, some devices does not. Okay, that everything we need to take care of it, right? And use it smartly, right? So whenever you need to install a router, just identify your requirements and the place, and what exactly the purpose of adding a router in your network. So you need to be very sure about the placement of the router as well. Okay, that's it. So if you gain some knowledge from this video, just do like and subscribe for the channel. Thank you.